Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now, our next conversation is one that helps us dissect a pattern of exclusion, intimidation, and institutional resistance that continues to plague women in politics. At the center of this conversation is Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, whose suspension from the Nigerian Senate ignited a firestorm of debate across the country.
In March 2025, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan was suspended for 6 months over alleged misconduct, an action that effectively silenced the voice of Kogi Central for an entire legislative session. Despite a federal high court ruling that declared the suspension unconstitutional and excessive, the Senate refused to reinstate her, citing a pending appeal. This defiance of judicial authority has been condemned by legal experts, civil society groups, and even international observers, from allegations of misconduct to a suspension by the Senate. Senator Natasha's case reveals the deeply gendered fault lines in Nigerian politics.
But this isn't just about Natasha, it's about the broader landscape of gender politics in Nigeria and across Africa. It's also about the invisible barriers that become visible only when women dare to challenge power. Joining us for today's discussion are broadcast journalist Ireti, Bakare, Yusuf, who joins us via video conferencing. Good morning to you. And we also have a public affairs analyst, Mr. Theophilus Akatugba, who makes a return after last week's daring conversation, which of course is part of the reason why we decided to look into governance. That definitely affects women. All right.
And it's good that Olive is on set today, so we have a fine gender balance. Yes.
Anyway, thanks for joining us, Ireti Bakare. Let's quickly start off with you. I know you've, when this issue started, in the assembly.
We seem to have some technical issues with
okay. All right, we'll try and sort that out. But then again, welcome back. It's countdown. While we're counting down to the River State return of the governor, Sim Fubara, on Thursday, where the Solar Minister will be making his way out. There's so many countdowns. One of the major countdowns is the return of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. And it seems like there is already a charade, as it were, and also stories surrounding the reason why she shouldn't come back because the law doesn't do this, the law doesn't do that. Many have taken it with very slim hands, if you put it that way, simply stating that that doesn't hold water. She ought to return back to a seat to represent her people. While some have now highlighted that it's a case of her just being a woman, because if she were a man, she wouldn't be going through all of this. And we do understand that you made comments on this last week, but what's your take again, to start off this conversation?
My comment last week, right, was on the premise that, you know, in face of all the things we see, what we hear in the public space, every time political issues, you know, are boiling, there are undercurrents, and you can actually I suggested that they should find a political solution than a legal solution. And you all were in disagreement with me. And I said, for me, I see ego here. I see people, it's not about whether Natasha is a woman, because even if Natasha were to be a man, the man might use other means to resolve this. And I gave the example of Fubara, who had to leave all the legalistic environment and alone, without the crowd, found solution to the problem. Even though his tenure, the suspension is over, and he's returning smoothly. It did not happen on a legal ground. He went to do some political conversation. And I suggested that as an easy way out, so that this does not protract or prolong. Because they are saying that there has been some pending appeal, because whenever you have an issue in Nigeria, I've seen cases that travel unnecessarily long because of appeals and all filing of all kinds of cases, and at the end of the day, it gets complicated. Okay. So I was suggesting that, not because she's a woman or a man, I believe everyone who is in the political environment should have an understanding.
All right, let's bring in Ireti Bakare into the conversation and ask your thoughts. You've heard Mr. Akatugba. He believes that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan should move beyond what the legalities or illegalities are and look for a political solution to her problems, just like Governor Siminalayi Fubara in River State sought for a political situation to her problem. I'd like you to respond to that vis-a-vis whether you believe she's being targeted because she's female?
First and foremost, did Fubara really find a political solution? Come on, let's stop dressing up nonsense. Fubara didn't find this political solution. A political solution was imposed on him. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
So, no, I don't think Natasha should go that way. And what I'd like to hear your guest tell us is, I didn't hear his name otherwise, so please pardon me. What sort of political solution? Look here, it is clear. And here's the thing we do in Nigeria all the time, constantly dressing up nonsense as if it has some sort of sense. The nonsense of this whole debacle has no sense. In fact, the nonsense of the nonsense has totally lost its nonsense. So, Senator Natasha was, she was suspended illegally for 6 months. The law says you cannot suspend a senator for 14 days. That's the first thing we've got to deal with. So immediately on the offset, the Senate were totally wrong. In actual fact, I keep saying this, it is critical that we remember that the senators are the lawmakers of the land. Even more so, the Senate president is the third citizen. Well, if the third citizen is taking it upon himself to break the law, disregard the Constitution, disenfranchise a whole constituency rather, from having representation, then what exactly are we talking about? What political solution? Wasn't it politics that put Senator Akpabio in place in the first place? Wasn't it the same politics by way of democracy that actually put Senator Natasha in a position? So what political position or solution is he looking for? What, for her to change party, cross carpet, fly over to APC like everybody else is? No, that is not a solution. That's a cop-out. And she's clearly not going to do the cop-out, right? So everything that's happened to Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, totally, absolutely illegal. That's number one. Number two is, now that the 6 months is over, yes, she went to court, and, you know, the judge, Justice Binta, did say it was wrong. She said it was illegal. I paraphrase her. She said it was against the Constitution. I paraphrase her, right? So what is the excuse? What I don't understand is, why are these people pulling at straws if it isn't that it's 100% personal? Because if it's not constitutional, then it's personal. If it's not democracy, then it's personal. What exactly do they want? And since when does the clerk have the right to stop a senator from resuming? So again, I'd like to ask your guest, what political position, because please don't use Fubara. Fubara did not find a political position or political solution. Whatever situation he's in, and we all know what's going on in River State, that complete and utter debacle chaos was imposed on Fubara. And I'm not judging the man, I'm just saying that is not an example. And if your guest thinks it's an example, I'd like him to.
All right. I believe that she has said, or she was trying to say that, I mean, you heard what she was saying.
Yes, yes.
Okay, you're back. Please go ahead, if you can land on your thoughts.
Before, I can hardly hear you guys. It's rather unfortunate. This is quite an interesting and important discussion. No, I finished. I said, I don't know where you heard me up to, but what I did, where I ended was, if the guest in the studio believes that the Fubara way is the solution, then perhaps he knows something that we don't know. He might want to enlighten us. Because the Fubara way is what you call chaos, a chaotic, theatrical mess.
All right, Ireti Bakare, I am your fan.
Bakare Yusuf, thank you.
I've been your, now very good to be with you here. You know what I am saying? When I use the word political solution, it might not go in the way of Fubara. I'm not even saying she should find political solution to her rape allegation. That one is purely a criminal accusation. If you look at the issue in the Senate, Akpabio himself did not have any big issue with Senator Natasha. It was a Senate leader, one of the senators, that raised a point of order to bring the attention of the Senate to Natasha's position at the time. That day, live, I witnessed the altercation. And I thought that was what, that she should have quickly moved to her seat in order to speak. But she insisted until it got really bad. What is baffling me is that no one is saying anything about the infraction. People are just looking at the fact that she needs to return. But if she had served her term without any legal issue around the suspension, I'm sure on the day the 6 months expires, it's natural that she should return to the house. But they are citing cases. If she withdraws those cases that concerns her suspension, then it becomes the cost becomes clear that the Senate will not be acting sub judice, that there is a pending case, status quo should be maintained. So they have cited those cases. Can Natasha go and speak with them? Okay, any case that I have concerning my suspension, I'll take out because I've served my suspension. Then the issue of rape, those cases are criminal cases that still continue to travel. And no one is asking her to find a political solution to a rape or harassment accusation. So for me...
But you didn't think, you felt, I mean, in our last conversation,
yes,
you mentioned something in the line of her rape accusation was after the fact, that she only mentioned it
yes, because she has... I saw her on TV after that altercation. I saw her on television making that allegation after, not before. There was no rape, not on the floor of the house, not even before that incident. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but did that change? Does that really change anything?
No. I did not say her accusation is of any less weight. She has her fact. She is to produce evidence. I am not holding forth for the Senate president. I don't know what transpired between them. So many things happen behind the scene that we do not know. So that case should travel its full course because she believed she was harassed, and she also connected it that it has something to do with what's happening in the house. You can see how protracted it's becoming.
Okay, I would like also as well to speak about female participation in politics. I mean, some people would argue that traditional and religious organizations do not support women in leadership. I mean, you did allude to that in our last conversation, but you look at several other countries, Rwanda, Senegal, South Africa, they have...
Namibia.
Exactly, Namibia has a female president.
Namibia's president and vice president are
both female.
Yeah.
We see a number of these countries, between 43 to 61% of the members of their parliament are women. We see that women make up almost 50% of the population of voters. However, they have barely 5% in the elected office. So I want you to speak to that statement, because I do believe that you were not in support of women being in political leadership.
No, that's not you. I made a quote that is not political. It's a social quote.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with politics. Women should participate as much as possible. I'm in support of women participating in any sphere of societal progress and development. But I made a statement that led to a little argument, or we had to banter. And I said it, that if you want to corrupt a society, start with the women. That's what I said. I said that is my quote, and I can expatiate on that. So let me leave that. In terms of women participation in politics,
all right, let's talk about that.
Since the creation of the earth, there has been shackles in the way of women. And those chains, shackles, obstacles have, over the time, they have been removed one after the other. The same way different races have had challenges. So in Nigeria, we should look at where are we? Have we made progress? I see progress made sometime, other progress, because right now the current Senate has fewer women than the previous. It means we retrogressed. Why are we making, why are we moving back when we're supposed to move forward? Now take a look at it. Nigerian politics is highly capital intensive. And you need to have a certain persona to spend the kind of money that Nigerian politics demands. And women do not seem to want to have that, do not have that kind of resources, or that kind of, she cannot mobilize that resources, because for you to mobilize resources, you have to enter all kinds of deals. Women are not very much interested in some of those deals.
Isn't the problem that the system blocks them intentionally?
No,
the system
it is our system. You know, we live in a country. If you say Uganda and Ghana, the ratio of Islam in Ghana compared to Christianity, you can see that is not in comparison with Nigeria. Nigeria has deeply conservative society. Majority of Nigerian society is conservative, not in comparison with Uganda and other countries where you have a very plural one religion predominant. In Ghana, you have about 80% Christian, 20% Muslim. In Nigeria, it's almost Muslims, 55% Christian, 45%. If I get it exactly correct. That tells you that anytime you are making a policy in Nigeria, everyone will look at that policy from which lens, different lenses. The issue of gender equality was thrown out. Why? Because some people found it completely alien to their faith. And they had a majority voice on that day, and they threw it out. So you must understand your environment. Why is this so? In Nigeria, there is this general branding of politics as a dirty game. Even if you go to your home as a man and you tell your family you want to join politics, you see the outrage. You see what your people will tell you, that you want to join that dirty game. I don't have a conscience for the evil they perpetrate. Your own very people will discourage you. Some religious sect says that politics is evil and that we should not participate in it. And others, so you see the diverse opinion. How do you expect a husband who is married to a decent woman, the woman has all the qualities, but for the fact that she will be branded evil and rumor, or people will carry rumor that she's having late night meetings with men, her integrity will be tainted. These are many issues that continue to block the chances of women.
You've raised very salient points. I'd like to bring in Ireti, Bakare, Yusuf into the conversation. Now, Ireti, Theophilus did mention the political environment in which we operate in and the conservative nature of Nigeria, that it doesn't really serve women's interests. Now, as a journalist that has followed women breaking into male-dominated spaces for years, why do you think it seems the system is set up against women? And also, why are strong women in politics often famed as difficult or troublesome, or they should go and look for political solutions to their issues?
Well, first and foremost, that, you know, if you, oh gosh, one day we'll get there in Nigeria. It's simple. Patriarchy, right? It is simple. Patriarchy has always favored men. Society that has always favored men and given men the entitlement, those who are entitled never want to share, let alone give up the power. So there's that threat, there's the fear. But that's number one. Number two is, it isn't that so if you look at our constitution, those who wrote it, wrote he. I think she is mentioned like perhaps 10% to the number of times that he is mentioned. And I'm talking about the pronoun he in our constitution. So that tells you something. That tells you that a constitution that was written by men, for men, with patriarchy as the sort of the judgment by which the whole society, the structure, the framework, everything is framed around that. It's also evident in what your guest is saying. He kept censuring, and I was listening, and I'm thinking, but why are you censuring everything around a man? So no man wants to be married, something is said about the wife, this, that, and whatever. That Senator Natasha should have gone to sit down. It's also infantilizing. Look, I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to go to what you said, Theophilus, which is the initial issue at the Senate. Once a senator raises the point of order, order 10, that point of order can be raised anywhere. It doesn't have to be on their seat. It can be raised as an SOS. And Senator Akpabio knew that. That's number one. Number two, it is rather disingenuous to actually claim Senator Akpabio didn't have a problem with Senator Natasha. Yes, Senator Adara Modu, who seemed to have become the mouthpiece, the spokesperson, the one that's out there for, for the Senate. Yes, he was the one that raised the order against. But Senator Akpabio, as the Senate president, is also knows the rules, and he knew at that time that Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan could have actually raised SOS, Order 10, anywhere at all, not even on a seat. She could have raised it in the middle. Order 10 is an SOS. So no. The implication of what you were saying is that she was being disobedient. She wasn't. She was being assertive. Let's stop saying when a woman is assertive and she knows her rights that she's been disobedient. She didn't break any rule, nor did she break any law. All the laws and the rules that have been broken by men. And that is because with patriarchy comes entitlement. Right? And so the rules change. When it's a woman, the rules change. You said that if you were going to be going into politics as a man in your family, most people would say to you not to. Yeah. What if I say to you, I don't think you're being totally sincere here? It is me. If I was going into politics as a female, that everybody will ask, who is your boyfriend? Because automatically they will presume I had a boyfriend. They will totally forget that they're standing in front of the same woman. In fact, even the family, that, this is the woman, the girl that we educated, who became a smart, intelligent, focused, fearless, delivering woman who is, who can actually do things. That is what society forgets, right? So when we talk about women, Olive, thank you. I like the fact that you mentioned all the other countries, Liberia that had the first, where we had Ellen Sirleaf, and all the other countries that have female presidents. Why are they so different to Nigeria? Why? What is the problem? Are they not women, right? Why is it that Nigeria is signed onto the UN, I forgot the name now, and yet Nigeria has never, not once, fulfilled the obligation of being a signatory to that.
Right.
Why is it that women in politics has now become some sort of a red herring? I don't know, it's just become a talking point. It's become a talking shop.
Right. I believe you're referring to the, I believe you're referring to the national gender policy.
Not willing to give up the power. That's what it is. Once the men are willing to give up, and by the way, I am not asking to be given a special treatment. I'm not saying, no, create special seats for women. I don't subscribe to that. That's the other thing. Women are not homogenous. I'm not one of those that subscribe to that. I want you to make it an even playing field so you and I can meet evenly and may the best person win.
So is this, I want us to flow from what you've said. On the 6th of April 2022, the Federal High Court in Abuja had mandated the federal government to also ensure that they uphold their own end of the agreement, the signing to the national gender policy saying that we allocate 35% of public appointments to women. Are you saying that you're not in support of that?
That's a appointive position.
I don't want you to
the public sector.
I'm not afraid to compete with you. I want what women have been asking for, and I'll tell you what it is. What women have been asking for is equal playing field. But because over time it's become apparent that the men are so afraid, they are so inherently selfish that they want to hold on to everything. Therefore, they're now saying, okay, you know what, perhaps if they create new seats, they won't feel so threatened about their seats. But should I tell you what's going to happen as a result of those new seats being created? The cost of governance is going to go up. And guess who they're going to point the finger at? The women. That's what's going to happen. Because you are creating extra seats. So why isn't the law saying, why isn't the Supreme Court saying it becomes 100% illegal if you do not have gender representation if you have your political party, the board of your political party, the governing committee, all your committees, and gender representation in politics, in competition. All we want is gender representation. Right? If they were to do that, then women would know it's an equal playing field. The other thing is, if they were to do that, then you wouldn't be able, or it wouldn't be okay for you to arrange meetings, political meetings in the middle of the night, where you know most women won't come to. I've been asked to come to a political meeting before, and I got the call at 11 o'clock. I said, are you mad? Are you insane? I'm in bed. What could be so important that I have to leave my house at 11? Right? And that's it. Most women will feel exactly the same way as me. So what I'm saying is everything is stacked to prevent women from coming into politics. And even when they do get there, then they are infantilized, they are subjugated, or they are bullied into actually working for the men. So the ones who are not as brave as Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, the ones who do not possess courage and her confidence, they then become patriarchal princesses, gatekeepers. Right? And this is what happens. So if we're going to be having this conversation, can we have an honest conversation? Because I'm sick and tired of flossing over something that literally needs to be thrown in the bin.
All right. Thank you.
I'd like us to also look at the aspect of, Mr. Akatugba, I'll come to you in a bit, I think, after this question. We do have the challenge of women, we do hear women supporting women. In Senator Natasha's case, it was expected that the women in the National Assembly will come forth and, of course, grant her support or give her support in terms of ensuring that, listen, let's rally round our very own. Yeah. Exactly. But this wasn't the case. Rather, we saw another side where even a former, a member of the House was saying, listen, you did wrong, you shouldn't have done this, you should have done it the other way. So how do women take their movements seriously when it seems like within the same circle where you have women, there seems to be a discord, there seems to be a separation?
Natasha's case is evident that she's not being victimized because she's a woman. Mm. The women in the Senate, they are very close to the incident and they were right there and they understood what went on. The general activism in support of Natasha is just one of those political activism foiled by a charged political atmosphere.
So why didn't the Dino Melaye and Ovio Magege, who happened to do something even more abhorrent, if you look at it, yes. Why didn't the case drag on for
That's
this
what I'm saying. Even Akpabio had been so accused. He has also been found. Yes. And immediately he apologized right there and walked out of that position. He just said, I'm sorry, after the altercation. What I'm saying, there were times that Natasha should have just ended the conversation and moved. But she kept on interrupting. It was very, very, unpleasant. Even Adam Oshomole said he was at home seeing what was happening. What we must understand, let us not elevate this particular incident to any attack on women. Even when she went to the International Parliamentary and the response of the Senate, as much as possible, balance out everything. That the rules of the Senate, if you break them, you will be punished whether you are a male or a female. What those men do, that's why I tell you, there are political, I've done something wrong, and you quickly say, oh, I'm sorry, my lord, or whatever your terms you use there. What I'm saying in the way we branded politics generally, Ireti says, I was not exactly correct. This is a common balance in Nigeria. Even if you go to your religious organization, they tell you that, are you a politician, that you are dirty. I have friends that speak very negative of politics, and everywhere you go, they say, just stay with your business and leave the dirty game of politics. If you call something dirty, our decent women are generally moral compass. They are the foundation of the societal well-being.
I thought you said that women are the foundation of corruption.
I said that when you want to corrupt a society, You start with the women.
Please, I
will go there. I will go there. I know what I'm not beginning to tell you the importance of women in society. Because you are the same people that said in the popular, beautiful quote that women quote when it's time to gain benefits. When you train one woman, what do? You train the whole. When you train a man, you train an individual. Is that not? Now, when you want to corrupt a society, corrupt one man, you corrupt an individual. You corrupt one woman, you corrupt the society, because women are the moral arc of a society. They are the foundation of societal traditional resilience. The moment you target that woman, she will spread it to her children. She will spread it to society. And that, I can spend time to prove it to you, that even in social engineering, when colonial masters wanted to capture any society, what they do is to first capture the women. And then the cancer of they spread it. They spread it through education, they spread it through religion.
So that was what they did. That quote that you
I will go there, but that's not what I'm discussing
I just
now.
want to reference that quote. It says, if you educate a man, you educate an individual.
Yes.
If you educate a woman, you educate a nation.
A
Do you know who made that quote?
I don't know.
It's a man.
That's
His
what I'm
name
saying.
is Dr. James Emmanuel Kwegya.
So I thank you for that.
Educator.
Can you reverse it now, that if you therefore want to corrupt society?
It was a man that made quote.
And its opinion is not law. The fact that it says it doesn't mean it's the law.
What I'm saying is, if you want to educate society, who do you educate?
All right.
Let's take Ireti's reaction. Please, your reaction to this, please.
They have taken the matter away from where we were.
Stop.
Go ahead.
I'm like screaming here. First and foremost, what's the name of my brother to my left?
Okay. Joe? Mr. Akatugba.
Yes, Joe. Don't ever ask a man, when the question is about a woman, do not ask a man first. That question should have come to me first. Then he could have come in after that. That's part of the patriarchal mindset that we're talking about. It is engineering. It is societal engineering. That's number one. Because who is he to say why the women didn't support Natasha? Really, who is he? He's a man. They supported men. Right? Women supporting women has nothing to do with a man supporting women who doesn't support other women. So here's the first thing, that the women at the Senate who did not support Natasha, women are not homogeneous. You must always remember that. That's number one. Number two, every single one of them, if you listened, and I listened to them, every single one of them did not come from the point of view of legality. They came from the point of view of, she should have just let it go. She should have just apologized. She should have just, and it was also from that place of generational difference. Look here, if you do not accept right now that the next generation of women, yes, Natasha is younger than me, if you do not accept that the next generation of women are not, and I'm sure Olive can confirm this, are not going to tolerate the sort of nonsense that my generation tolerated, then you've got a big fight coming up. What you saw Senator Natasha do at that place, at the Senate, was that she knew her rights. Now, Theophilus, you also said you didn't hear her. She didn't mention about the sexual harassment until she got on TV later. That is very true. But a woman speaks out when she is ready, not when anybody tells her to, not when it's convenient, when she is ready. It was because, and that question was specifically asked of her. She was asked, what is always the problem? It was who said to her, what is always the problem with you and Senator Akpabio? And then that's when she spoke. It was clear that she didn't come there to say that. But I think at some point you just think, you know what, I'm just going to speak my truth, and then whatever happens. That's number two. Number three is, Theophilus, you said Senator Akpabio apologized to Natasha when he made the giant...
No, I don't think it was Akpabio to Natasha he meant. I think it was he was referring to when he had the issue with Ahmed Lawan back in the day, the sitting arrangement issue.
The Ninth Senate, yeah.
Yes, he apologized in the House. I don't think it was to Natasha.
Well, yes, he had to apologize because he was facing Senator Saraki, who was a no-nonsense. Look, the fact of the matter is, the men at the Senate wanted to bully Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan into begging and apologizing. She was not ready to do that. She was ready to stand to her truth. Again, remember when Senator Akpabio actually spoke to her and said something about this is not a nightclub. He was widely condemned by Nigerians all over social media, and then he had to come and apologize. Why is it always her? What was his problem with her? Why did he constantly pick on that woman all the time, every time? He also picked on Senator Ireti Kingube, who eventually was kowtowed into silence. That's why she was coming out to defend them, because she's been browbeaten into weakness. Now, I'm not saying they all need to support Senator Natasha. If they don't agree with what she did, that's their business. Right? Women supporting women shouldn't be what's it called? A ruse that's constantly that women are hung by. If Olive doesn't agree with what I do, it's within her rights to not to agree with what I'm doing. But that doesn't mean she doesn't support me. Because there's a difference. There's a difference with agreeing and support. I can condemn what another woman does if I don't agree with it, while still supporting her right to do or to take the actions that she took. So this is the kind of infantilization. Theophilus, you keep talking about decency. What exactly does that mean?
Yes, I'll tell you.
Here you are again, writing the script of how women should behave.
Yes, I'll tell you.
What if I don't think, no, but you must stop using that language.
No, I will use
when
it
it comes to women. They constantly use it. On my show on last Friday, the same thing happened. They kept talking about decency with women. Who said, where is it written?
Okay.
That the word decency should only be applied to women. Women are not choreographed to behave a particular way.
Or homogeneous.
Trying to choreograph how women behave. Women are individuals, they're human beings, they respond the way their intelligence, their spirits, their passion moves them, just like men do. So stop this. And all that thing that you said, oh, if you educate, you keep placing all the responsibility on women. If you educate a woman, you educate the society and everything. What's wrong with you educating the society? Even when women educate the society, what do? You then tell us that the girls should stay back. It's a Monday morning, people. I should be calm.
All right, I like that. We educate men and women. But the impact of education of women is evident in our society today. There was a time where women were not given enough space in the educational environment. And since we started educating,
again, there's a lot of falsehoods that's put out.
No. There was a time. I'm saying that before now.
I am a Yoruba girl, right? I am Omokaro Jire, all right? And I know that within the Yoruba culture, and the same applied in Igbo culture, within the Yoruba culture, women have always had power.
Well,
those who are not educated in Oyinbo schools were educated in religious schools.
I get your, I understand.
So
I'm saying,
stop this. It was when the colonizers came, they were the ones that spoke to you men, you Nigerian men, and said you're giving the women too much power. Why? Because it was white women in Victorian times. They did not have power. They could not speak.
All right.
Cattle.
All right, so
I like this.
Please tell the truth.
All right. So let's bring in Mr. Akatugba.
Yes. What I want to say here is that I like the fact that you said we had a form of education. And that time, the education we had was able to build and give us a stable, better, and a purer society. Then the colonial masters came, like you said, and they gave us a form of education that changed everything. And we still continue to educate ourselves in the fashion and form of the same colonial masters. And today you have a lot of disparity from the society we once had. And you call it tolerance. You said what you tolerated. Are we educating women to be more confrontational? Because the outcome of such is that eventually you have high divorce rates, you have broken homes, you have more crime in society, you have more investment in combating crime, and then society gets more decadent. So there is no way you will drive the traffic. When we say women are decent, the women and men stand on different platforms in society. We have roles. The greatest nurturer, caregiver, and influencer of the future is the woman. She brings the children, she warmly influences them, and the value she presents to the children is what will go. Any man who has trained his children effectively has always done so through the wife. If the wife is in disagreement, there is a broken chain. It is always a struggle. Because women, children trust their mother. They love what the mother says. In every society, when women hold down a tradition and a practice, that practice endures. If women reject it, it does not endure. So women are the custodian of the moral fabric of a society. They are the custodian of the traditions of a society moving from generation to generation, because by their special positioning, they have the greatest influence on societies today and tomorrow. So
how can
the men are only strategic in their decisions.
So shouldn't men now step up to ensure that, I mean, what Ms. Ireti Bakare Yusuf is trying to say, I would assume, is that too much expectation is placed on women.
That is exactly what it
which
is.
Is that correct?
Yes. I have a quote from my Bible. I have a quote from the... No. The men have remained in their place. What you people have not understood, the people that have not changed are men. Men just let me finish. They have remained in their place. Let me explain this before. I have a quote in the Bible, in Proverbs chapter 14, verse 1. It says, a wise woman builds her house, and a foolish one tears it down. That is the responsibility of woman. It's not me, the creator, who gave me a Bible. In Quran, it said the fabric and the foundation of the future lieth at the heart and the feet of women because of their capacity to change society.
All right.
So the decadent men and this corruption that you talk about, they should just sit back and continue.
Men are product of families. That's why I'm saying that.
So because they've been corrupted by
our society has been corrupted since we adopted Western education. Don't forget that. Let me explain. That's why Islam considered it at that time as haram. Let me explain. When the Westerners came with their education, listen to what Macaulay wrote to the Parliament of England on inspection of Africa. He said, these people have a great system and form of education, and their religion and faith is so perfect that if we replace these two, they will indeed be a people truly conquered.
And that's what's happening.
And that's what they did.
Okay. We, of course, have to, we're getting to the end of this conversation. We have to wrap up. I will give you Ms. Ireti Bakare Yusuf. Final thoughts. We have less than a minute to get out of this conversation.
Okay, I'm not one of those people. I can see the look on your face, Alip. I'm not one of those people that do religion. So please stop. You know, there's so many tools. Permit me. There are so many tools that are weaponized. There might be, you know, the intention might be good, but every time, everywhere you turn, it's weaponized against women. So the Bible said this, the Quran said that. First and foremost, it's time we kept religion out of our politics. Like, that's a whole campaign we need to start ASAP. If we really want to become a rich nation, put it that way, a successful nation. But here's what I'm going to say. I've just heard Theophilus talk all these wonderful things about, you know, place this responsibility on women, the society will be this, educate women, the society will be that. Well, if you know that, why then don't you guys just step down? Leave the country to us and let us run it, and you become my assistant instead of women being forced to become secondary to men. Why not? Would you be willing to come and be my assistant, Theophilus? I bet you won't. And this is you see, I see through disingenuous rhetorics all the time. And I'm sorry, with respect, I've heard a lot of disingenuous rhetorics on this debate today. It's been a lot of responsibility placed on women without respect. So you're placing all this responsibility, you're drowning women. Women are supposed to educate society. They're supposed to carry the culture through. They're supposed to do this, they're supposed to do that. By the time we're finished doing that, the other gender, your gender, Theophilus, are busy running the country down and actually being more corrupt and stealing what should be going to our children. Okay, so here's what I'm going to say. If Nigeria is serious about going forward, on a more serious note, if we are serious about having strong, good, impactful, successful governance at every level, then we should actually look to how we had it before the colonial days.
Right.
You had women.
Thank you, sir. We should be good to go on.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up here because we have to go.
And we also have to give Theophilus 1 minute 30 seconds.
Yeah, I like that. That we should, if we could, I would want to go with Ireti to that period. Now, I like the fight that women must be given more chance. We need to have a woman president. We need to have all that. Women must also believe that a woman should be, because majority of them have not also believed or come to the support of women in politics. Those in politics will tell you this. All I want to say finally is that men in politics that are corrupt are husbands to a wife, and they are a child to a woman. And so I believe that we are who we are because our mothers gave us training that we are. If
we don't take accountability and responsibility.
You can't account for nothing you didn't get.
Okay, we have to
so finally, before we go, I believe society, I am in support of women blowing out in politics, and the political environment, women are given, pay half the price of the form. Some parties give free forms to women. This is more of this should be done. I believe women can come up, but women should not shed or go away or take away from them that they don't have a role to shape a society. Well, they shape it, they form it, for they give birth to everyone in it.
And the final thing would be, at the end of the day, from all that you've said, men should also take more responsibility, because you've talked about men accountability, be married to women, be raised by women. Like, where are the fathers? What are the fathers doing? What are the men doing?
We have been shouting. Our voices are now drowned because you are now louder, because you have obtained the Western education, where the society we are preaching, we are looking for here, is full-blown in the West. Insanity. But the outcome is very, very messy.
Akatugba, final thought would be, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.